Welcome to the Human 2 podcast, the podcast that investigates how we stay human and true to ourselves during challenging times in our professional lives, with a focus on the accountancy and finance profession. After all, accountants are human too. I'm Hannah, founder of Accountancy Hub and director of Human 2 Limited. I'm also an ICAW chartered accountant. Today's episode is with Fractional Finance Director Rajesh Shah. He spent over 31 years at Costco Wholesale, initially setting up the UK finance function in 1993 and working his way up from controller to AVP, finance director and company secretary. My connection with Rajesh is that he was a client of mine when I was working in business consulting at Grant Thornton, and he's been a brilliant supporter of Accountancy Hub and our mission. In this episode, we delve deeper into Rajesh's career from his trainee days to now. Themes include the importance of empathy in leadership, how he developed his finance team primarily from within Costco, so from different departments into the finance function. We talk about AI and the importance of having a supportive environment at work. Hope you enjoy the episode. Hi, Rajesh, and welcome to the Human 2 podcast.
Hi, Hannah. Thank you.
Great to have you on. I'm going to go straight into the first question, which is for our listeners, could you just tell everyone who you are and a little bit about your career?
Sure. So my career started back in long time ago, back in 81, 82 time. So I came to the UK from East Africa to basically study. I did my A-levels. So the advantage was that my brother was already in the UK and he was qualified chartered accountant. So that was a little bit of a step up the ladder from that time onwards. But then I was so focused on following his footsteps. So for me, I guess in terms of choice, there was only one choice, is to actually qualify as a chartered accountant.
So there wasn't anything else you considered? You just looked up to your brother and thought, I want to do what he's done?
Yeah, that's it. I did not want to do anything else. I mean, one of the reasons was that as an overseas student, there is limitations in what you can do. And I think chartered accountancy gave me the option to work and study at the same time. So in terms of the finance, I think it was just easier option for me, bearing the circumstances at the time.
Okay. So tell me, what happened next?
So what happened next? Okay, so I did my A-levels in a pretty short time. Again, as I mentioned, the finance is one grade. So I didn't do a university course. I did what they wanted me to do, which was a 1-year foundation degree or foundation course, which is the first year of a 3-year degree course, just to join chartered accounting training contract as an undergraduate, which in those days was very difficult. I mean, nowadays, in fact, some of the firms encourage apprentices and people who don't have a kind of a degree, which is nice to see. So I went through and applied to so many firms, small, medium, large, you name it, to get a training contract. And as an undergraduate, you would have to go for a 4-year training contract with a day release course.
Okay.
So I was lucky enough to get a training contract with a small firm, like a 6-7 partner firm, I believe, in London. And I think I would say that was a good start to my career, because in a small firm, you learn a lot. You learn how to do accounts from nothing, from really receipts and soiled up receipts and all sorts of things. So I managed to, I learned a lot there.
And were you in audit?
Yeah. Sorry.
You were definitely in audit, yeah.
Yeah. So I did a lot of accounting, a little bit of auditing, and tax, a lot of personal tax work as well as corporation tax work, payroll. So I learned a lot of things to do with finance functions within that firm. And I think that was a good choice for me to join a small firm, frankly.
Yeah.
And to this day, I'm thankful to whatever I did there and whoever taught me, they gave me the tools to learn accounting, real accounting.
What else do you remember about that time when you were training? Did you have a few other people that were at the same level as you also training, or was it just you? And how did you find kind of working full time and studying at the same time?
Right. So it was, as I said, a small firm with 6, 7 partners, and he had a staff of about, say, 25 people at various levels. So they had people who had already qualified, people who were semi-qualified, and like juniors training to qualify. I obviously joined as a junior and then qualified with them. So a lot of training was from what we used to call principals, i.e. the partners. So as an article clerk, which is what I was, you sign up to a principal, basically a partner, who then is like your mentor. And they are responsible for making sure that you go through all the necessary training to then, when you qualify, that you get your practice certificate, etc. So yes, the training was through the principal, but then there were other people there as well. And you learn through experience, through, observing people, to following the guidance. But then there's also initiative. You have to learn by doing things, experimenting things. And I remember at the time of exam when we were studying and obviously working, he was going into the office at the weekends to study, because being at home, it wasn't very conducive to study. So I used to go in the office quiet and then able to study at the same time. Yes, studying and working is not easy, but when you're focused on achieving something, you can do it.
Yeah. And people that listen to this podcast, they'll be right in the middle of that and, trying to pass the next exam and working full time, studying in the evenings. I know lots of people when I was training, they did the same as you. They would go to the office at the weekends because it was a quieter, better place for them to study. It's a tough old time, but as you said, if you've got the motivation and you know exactly what you're aiming for and you know why you're doing it, you've got that goal in mind, it's very achievable.
Absolutely. And I'm looking at what today, for instance, today's environment, I think the students get a lot more support. They get a lot more support from the firm. There's so much available information. And like of yourself, Hannah, in terms of why the accountancy hub also, they have so much assistance. And I didn't have a lot of that when I traded.
I can imagine. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, it is tough. But like we said, if you are focused on getting it done and achieving it, and long hours, obviously, then you can do it. You can do it.
So once you
If you ask me whether I can actually do any of those exams now,
I definitely couldn't do any of the exams now. Sometimes I don't feel like a real accountant because you know so much when you're actually studying, don't you? And then if you're not using it on a day-to-day basis continuously, it does drop out of your mind. But I I absolutely loved that training period because it felt so practical, learning about tax. I feel like everyone needs to know how tax works, not just accountants, because it's personal tax as well.
yeah, yeah. And I think, as I keep saying, joining a small firm where you get to do everything,
Yeah.
you actually learn debits and credits. Nowadays, do students learn debits and credits? I doubt it. In theory, maybe, but not in practice. In
Mm,
practice, the computers take over the debits and credits.
yeah. Yeah, totally. So what did you do once you'd qualified? Did you stay there for a number of years or
So I
did you move on?
stayed with this firm for 4 years because my contract was for 4 years. I couldn't leave them earlier. I qualified in year 3, though. Once I passed all the exams, they kept me for 1 more year. And then I wanted to get some experience with a big firm.
Mhm.
So I joined a firm called Tushros, which is basically now a part of Deloitte today. Uh, and there, I mean, Tushros, Deloitte, big firm. So I joined the audit group, and then spent probably about 3 years now. Yeah, 3.5 years with Tushros, doing working on audits of small, medium, large companies. Uh, Starting as an audit junior and then moved on to manager level. Uh, again, I would say the experience was invaluable. In a small firm, you learn about the nitty-gritty of accounting. In a large firm, start to look at the corporate structures, the
Mm,
corporate kind of strategy, controls, in terms of the risk levels, etc. Balance sheet mainly, and the profile of the management. So I think it was good combination to have large business, large professional experience combined with a small firm experience.
yeah.
So yeah, I spent 3.5 years with Two Shores.
Okay. And then after that, did you move into industry?
So decision time. Do I want to continue in the profession and become a partner or in accounting, or did I want to jump onto the other side? It was a hard decision. And the decision I made was that, yes, actually, I would like to move into industry. So I did. I left Two Shores and I joined a company. Then it was called Express Foods Group, in a large company called Grand Metropolitan. Today, Grand Metropolitan is called by Diageo, but they are purely drinks. They basically sold off or hived off all their food businesses. But I joined their Express Dairy, which is basically was in the dairy business, making cheese, all those kind of things. So I joined the corporate office as just corporate accountant. Again, being exposed now onto the other side of the fence, as it were, preparing accounts for auditors to come in and audit. It was great. I mean, I knew what they would be looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, you would. I mean, it's brilliant seeing the other side, isn't it?
It is. It is nice to see that what the auditors ask for makes sense from an audit perspective, because I've been in that situation before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and so anyway, it was a corporate accounting role. So there wasn't a lot of, I would say, hands-on there. But anyway, I spent 2.5 years there. Now, at the time, the business was going through restructuring.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of the strategy for the group was to start selling off, hiving off, or shutting down their foods businesses. And Grand Met then had loads of food interest. They had not just Express Dairy, they had companies making sandwiches, pies, cakes, all sorts of things, dough, Pillsbury dough, for instance, was part of them. So they had a lot of interest in terms of, but they were strategizing to kind of streamline and become more of a drinks business, which it is today. So the Express Dairy business, basically, they wanted to close off and sell off, which they did. I was then moved to a cake business as their divisional finance director.
Wow.
So a small cake making business.
Yeah.
Again, that company, they wanted to shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So I was part of the team who actually worked on that shutdown.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was basically working on a project to sell off all the properties,
Mm-hmm.
shut the business, obviously make the staff redundant who were working there in the factory, and in the process making myself redundant too. But they were good. They were good in that, they had lots of, as I said, other subsidiaries, divisions who needed finance support. So they put me on special projects
Okay.
across different divisions. So I think I worked on another business it was making sandwiches. So I worked with them for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Another business in Northampton in making pies, for instance. And so it was good for me to get experience in different areas of the
Yeah.
business. Some at FD level, divisional FD level, some at controller level, some at just accountant level.
Yeah. How did you
So I would
find that?
say
How did you find that period where you were sort of selling off assets and making people redundant? I can imagine that's quite difficult. I mean, I've never been in that situation, but how did you find that?
it is difficult, because particularly since these people that we were making redundant had been working for the company for a long time,
Mm,
and they had the families working with them as well. It's only just one or two people.
mm,
It was difficult. I mean, we were well prepared with support from corporate in terms of HR, etc. And obviously, I wasn't on my own. I had people helping me as well. But we worked out the kind of the packages people had to get. In the end, I think they knew the reason why we had to do
Yeah.
it. Tough thing, obviously, thinking about myself for future. Obviously, I was going to be without a job.
Mm,
But luckily, they put me on special projects for about probably year and a half
okay.
after that.
Yeah.
But eventually, I was made redundant from GrandNet. And basically, my previous boss from that business called me, and he was then a controller at Pizza Hut UK, which I hear is going through a bit of a tough patch at the moment.
Mm,
But so he called me, he said, there's a special project where they're actually installing a accounting system. Would I like to head that project up? Now, I was, being made redundant anyway, so it was very timely.
yeah.
And it's something that I hadn't done before, to install an accounting system in a Pizza Hut was a large business then. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had over 500 restaurants, I think, then. Uh, so it was a good opportunity for me. Again, joining my previous boss, it was nice to do that, to have that continuity.
Mm-hmm.
So I joined them. I spent about 7, 8 months with them,
Mm-hmm.
and the project was nearly finished by then. Then, out of the blue, I got a call from an agent saying there is an American company by the name of Costco Wholesale setting up in the UK. It's a membership warehouse club. I mean, nobody had heard of a membership warehouse club in the UK. Even today, I think it's Costco is the only one really, a membership warehouse club. They actually don't have any business running at the time. This was back in 93. So they came with lots of money to invest and a business plan. And they wanted a kind of finance manager to set up the accounting function, basically. So again, I said, well, look, I've been made redundant once. I've got this short-term project at Pizza Hut that's nearly coming to an end. And this is an opportunity, okay, Costco could have gone either ways. It could have not taken off. There were some regulations that they had to basically go through and get approvals, which if they didn't, they wouldn't have gone through as a business, or it would have been a success, which thank God it was, and it is today.
Yeah.
I joined via Costco back in 93. And as a finance manager, basically task was to set up the accounting system from scratch. Now, Costco is part of the American setup, or NASDAQ listed. It's got obviously quite, they have 8, 9 businesses, buildings rather, we call them warehouses. And so it's a multi-billion dollar organization. UK was its first venture outside US, Canada, Mexico.
Gosh.
And so it was a great opportunity for me to actually set up an accounting system and a function and recruit
Mm,
people
mm,
from the beginning. Obviously, it called upon my previous experience of accounting, auditing, tax, you name it.
yeah. Everything. Yeah.
So, I really enjoyed that setting up business time. And so I stayed with them for nearly 32 years. So I moved up from being a finance manager to controller. And finally, last 5 years at Costco, I was the finance director and company secretary uh, with a team of about 48, 49 people, controlling businesses not just in UK, but also Iceland and in Sweden as well. So a tremendous experience, I think, and opportunity for me that I got.
Yeah.
But, I think the background was that, I was very focused on delivering, as a professional
Mm.
and and train the people to take over after me. So that's a great, great move to join Costco.
Yes, definitely. And I want to talk more about that. So you spent over 31 years at Costco. What was it that made that a good place for you to really establish your career and not leave? Because you could have moved on at some point, but why was it a great place for you to develop? And did you have any mentors, coaches? What was it about the environment that you thought, no, I'm going to stay here?
So Costco basically, as I said, is a large corporation, but the culture there is so important in terms of making sure that they look after their people and they pay them well. And, you enjoy the work environment. I think that's very important. And so I was in a fortunate position where my boss then, allowed me to basically make sure that I take care of my area without too much interference, which was nice. So I set up there, as I said, accounting system, the department. I was able to put my print on all this. So that's quite satisfying. But as an organization, it's got a great culture. It looks after its people very well, and it pays them very well, and it gives an opportunity to progress from within. It was unique that we used to get calls from recruitment agencies if we needed people,
Hmm.
and I had to disappoint them all the time, saying that, look, we actually recruit from within. So, we've had people who are non-qualified at all, with no accounting experience, working in the warehouse, who then joined my team, and they were brilliant accountants. Some of them actually studied, some of them didn't study, but still they learned how to do a double entry bookkeeping. They learned how to work because they had great, tremendous operational knowledge. And they
Interesting.
combined that with accounting training, as in, hands-on, on-the-job training.
I
So it
really
was
like,
great.
I love that culture of, developing your own people. And, even if they're not in the department, if they're from the warehouse, in they're in marketing, whatever it might be, if they have the motivation and the passion to be in your team, it sounds like you would then teach them and develop them.
Absolutely. I think exam is one thing. So success at exam is one thing. But I think the other important part of your career is that, you're able to, your attitude to work, and obviously from the employer's point of view, encouragement and looking after the people, in
Yeah.
terms of giving them a springboard to excel, really.
And have you ever had a mentor or a coach or anyone that really supported you when you were at Costco?
Yeah. So, as I said, my boss then, he basically was hands off. So he trusted me and allowed me to basically do what I had to do to actually make a success of not just my career, but the department, really. But in terms of mentor, I think everybody in business in Costco, they are mentors. Everyone. They really look after each other,
Yeah.
and they work as a team. In terms of technical side, I basically followed the footstep from people in the accounting department in the US, the head office. So they obviously will, I went there for training. They basically showed me all the different ways, things like how the gross margin model works, how the inventory works, and, reporting side. It was very, very tight reporting. I mean, we had to close our monthly accounts within 24 hours, no longer. And our year end was literally 3 days, 3 working days. We had to close our books for the year end. I mean, we were able to do that because we had a great team. We had a great supporting management
Yeah.
and great system.
Incredible. I mean, you've been in the food retail sector for, the majority of your career. Can you tell me what you've learned about the industry as a whole?
I think the margin can be pretty tight in food retail.
Okay.
And I think people have to, I think the challenges here are to manage your inventory, because food retail, I mean, that there's obviously a lot of, you have to consider in terms of the fresh life of the food, etc. And so the margin could get a little bit tight. And so the merchants, and in Costco, mainly the buyers, they would look after making sure that, no, it's not just the margin, but because of the membership that members pay, that we are able to provide them with an excellent price and value for the merchandise. Overall, food retailing, I think, can be great, but there are tough challenges in terms of margin and stock rotation.
Okay. Okay.
Particularly since, I mean, at the time of COVID, for instance, the experience was that everybody was going around trying to buy groceries and toiletries and things like that. But at Costco, we were able to keep in stock, and we did not increase them. They didn't increase the prices. That was another Costco trade. It's, bring value to those members.
Mm.
And that kind of trade is basically goes across the business. It's not just the management. Everybody thinks the same way.
That's incredible that they've managed to create that culture. So with Costco, I've never been a member of Costco, but do you pay like a monthly subscription then?
It's a yearly subscription. So it's two categories of members in UK. So you can either you have a business of your own, so you are a trade member, or you are individual, so a qualified accountant, for instance, a doctor, a teacher. You can get individual membership for that. So yeah, not everyone can be a member. You have to be either in trade or a profession, or you can be an individual member.
Okay, and if you're an individual member, do you have to be a professional, or can anyone become a member of Costco?
Basically, there's certain categories of employment. So doctors, teachers, accountants, government employees, NHS employees. It's historic why they had those rules.
Interesting. Okay. And then they are able to sell products much more cheaply than you'd find in other supermarkets like Tesco or Sainsbury's.
With Costco, they only carry limited SKUs, so roughly 3,500 items. And the idea is to turn the inventories over fast. So, and the buyers are limited on the margin they can make, maximum margin. Beyond that, even if they're showing a huge saving against the market, they will not increase the price. So the whole idea is to supply the merchant to the members quality merchandise at the lowest possible price.
Wow. Okay. And it's a business
And
model.
there's a guarantee. If you're not happy with the membership
Yeah.
and you think you're not getting the value, they will refund the membership.
Gosh. Okay. What a business model. All right. I'm going to move on to what is the main topic of this whole podcast, which is about accountants being human too. And I used to ask people about a challenging moment in their life or career, but I've just started to ask what makes you human. So, Rajesh, what makes you human?
I would go back to the time I mentioned when at Grand Met, we were shutting down the business, cake business, and making people redundant. And I don't think many people actually train to be able to do that thing successfully, really. There's no training for that. And whilst I was a qualified accountant, I had to spend time trying to make sure that I do it right. We are affecting lives of the people and the families, really, making redundant. So that was a good opportunity for me to use that kind of skill. And I believe I did it well. And so, you learn that it's not just about numbers, it's about people and their lives also.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was one occasion. The other occasion, personally, was when eventually I was made redundant. There was obviously concern in my mind. Okay, well, what if I don't get a job? How I'm going to survive, right? So, usual questions people would have.
Mm,
But I was lucky enough to find the opportunities, and they came knocking at my door, which was nice.
yeah. I mean, did you have to give yourself a little pep talk and say, Rajesh, it's going to work out, it's going to be fine? Or, you know, was there a time when you were looking for jobs and nothing was coming up and it was really difficult? Did you find something quite quickly so, it was okay?
I think at the beginning, I think I mentioned that I was a non-graduate joining a training contract with a firm. It was very difficult. I actually applied for over 300 roles, right? Different accounting firms. And all of them mostly were rejections. One that did come through with a positive response. So it was concerning because if I didn't get a training contract, that would have been the end of my career or my kind of intentions to qualify.
Yeah.
Because then that would have meant going back as a foreign student, go back home, really.
Mm, yeah.
That was tough.
That is really tough. And you know what? The job market is not good at the moment, and we have a lot of graduates, so not even school leavers, graduates coming to Accountancy Hub saying that they're really struggling to find a training contract, and they're just applying and applying and applying, but not getting anywhere.
I think you're right. It is. I've actually read it is hard at the moment. But, one thing I've learned, Hannah, over the years, especially at Costco, is that sometimes people need to be a little bit flexible. I think the graduates need to be a little bit flexible in terms of what they want
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit humble. I did find that when we were looking for people at Costco, sometimes they come with preconceived ideas of what they are, what they can do. And it doesn't always work in organizations if you come with this preconceived idea that I should actually be doing only this work and then every 2 years I need to be promoted.
Mm,
It doesn't always work. So I
yeah,
think sometimes, as they say, you can't change behavior. You have to have the right attitude.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
And the other thing I was going to add is that AI, we hear so much about AI now, right? And how is it going to change the landscape now for accounting? It will change, but does that mean that people joining the accounting training now need to focus more over onto not just processes, but actually higher value review functions rather than just the processes?
Yeah.
Auditing, for instance, what's going to happen to auditing?
Well, tell me, what do you think? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I don't use that much AI, so uh, I guess I don't need to right now. But what's going to happen? AI is good in taking over some of the mundane processes. So certainly in accountancy, there are those, leaving us to provide added value service. To be honest, use the brains that we have that the AI hasn't taken over. To be honest. There's a lot of opportunities for, to work alongside AI rather than be replaced by it.
Yeah, I agree. It's that kind of review and strategic advisory roles that might become more important. And yeah, more of the mundane roles will be taken by AI. But I think even trainee accountants, they still need to know the basics in order to be able to review and have that more strategic lens. They still need to understand the basics, I think.
Absolutely. They do need to understand basics in a variety. As I say, knowing just the auditing without the actual accounting background is not sufficient. I
Mm.
think they can, if they have a good breadth of experience in doing the basics accounting, auditing, tax, then they're in a much better position to kind of contribute on a strategic level, I think.
Have you not used ChatGPT, Rajesh?
A couple of times.
I love
I'll tell
ChatGPT.
you where I used it. I tell you where I used it recently. So, I are 35. So I have my own consulting business. And so I just wanted to put my engagement letter together with a client of mine. And I
Yeah.
said, okay, as far as I-35 concerned, give me some ideas of what I can include. And boy, it just gave me the whole letter.
Yeah.
For instance, the one specific point that I wanted help on was the right of substitution, which is key clause that the HMRC would look at in all those engagements.
Mm.
And actually, it wrote the letter, that part of the letter, to say, this is what you can tell your client to include in the engagement. It's
Perfect.
amazing. It is amazing. Am I 100% convinced that it's going to take over? No. It's not going to replace humans.
No. No. Well, I would hope not as well, because that would be
No,
terrifying.
it was.
Um, there are people that use ChatGPT as their therapist now. So because waiting times are so long on the NHS and
Yeah.
things like that, they just go to ChatGPT and they can speak to someone, AI, confidentially, and it gives all these responses. And I find that bizarre because, out of all the services that AI can produce, that is such a human one, isn't it? That is
Yeah,
where you expect
exactly.
empathy and experience. And I mean, I would always want to speak to a human, but actually AI is replacing counselors.
Yeah, yeah, I know, I know. It is frightening, but at the same time, I'm encouraged by the fact that if it makes us humans more efficient,
Yeah,
then that gives us time to do other things that we want to do, right?
yeah,
You know,
totally.
we can do. I mean, we can increase our horizons. I can, make it broader.
So you have now retired, Rajesh, but what does retirement look like for you?
Oh, it's lovely. I do miss Costco. I am still in contact with people. I go for, lunches and dinners with them. It's like a family, so I do miss them.
Uh-huh.
But my retirement, principally, I retired earlier because I wanted to have time to devote to some interest. And my interest, one is obviously keep healthy. So I've joined gym,
Amazing.
which I've never been to a gym before I retired. So I've got now time for going to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. I
Gosh,
go for
great.
nice long walks. We've been on several trips abroad, holidays, which is nice. So
Lovely.
I do like traveling. I
Yeah.
do enjoy traveling. But then I haven't left the profession completely. I do have a medium-sized client that I am a fractional FD. I act as a fractional FD for. And that's great. I mean, I think, I'm using all my previous experience to help him raise funds,
Mm,
to put some strategic business plans in place, even mundane things like advise his team on the accounting entries.
mm,
But that, I'm combining all these different things to do things which, I enjoy. Not to say that I didn't enjoy what I did at
yeah.
Costco, but I think it just gives me more time to yeah. It just goes slow. The time flies though.
You're making it sound really good. I really want to retire. When can I retire?
You're too young. You're far too young, Hannah.
Oh, no, it sounds
No,
great
no. You're
though.
doing a great job.
Holidays, exercise, and doing things that you enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. And the time flies, and so my wife still works. She works part-time, and she comes home, about 3, 4, and she said, what did you do today? And I said, what did I do? I did 2, 3 things. Just that? Yes. But it took, I did it nicely. I did enjoy myself. I went for a nice an hour's walk. So it's a question of, you know, enjoy what you do rather than
Yeah.
have to do it because you have to do it.
Yeah. It must be such a different pace because you must have been working for all those years at Costco. It's a stressful job. You were company secretary, you were FD, you had a lot of responsibility, you had a large team. Um, and then to not have that, have you found yourself sort of enjoying the slower pace, or does it make you want to keep kind of busy all the time to keep at the same pace?
Surprisingly, Hannah, I've adapted pretty well. I'm surprising myself as well because my wife suddenly was concerned that going from what 60, 70 hours a week role at
Mm,
that level to actually not have a role of that nature, it would be tough on me. But I've adapted pretty well. And the combination of what I just mentioned, all the different activities, travel, consultancy work, a little bit of, just, health, gym, going to the gym,
mm.
and all those things really are filling my time. In fact, one thing that I had top of my list, which I wanted to do, was to learn cooking. I haven't ma-
Amazing.
I haven't managed that yet. I do a couple of things, but I haven't managed that yet. It's something to do, something I need to do. I want to do.
That's a great one. What sort of food are you wanting to start cooking?
Healthy stuff. So, nothing pasta based because pasta is a lot of carbs, but just, like I do cook fish with, good vegetables.
Mm,
My son makes me chicken, and then I add the vegetables with it. But just a few Indian dishes as well. I'd like to learn those
yeah.
from my wife. She's a great cook. So
Oh, that's a great goal and a really useful one.
the other thing is that I think people in my position with that experience, we should really give something back to the community. And so I would like to take up maybe a kind of a role with a charity or something that needs help, you
Yeah.
know, just to help them out. I think I've got to
Mm,
use my experience with that.
brilliant. Well, final question for the podcast is if you were to have a cup of tea with your younger self, maybe when you were in your training contract and working for the small firm. Looking back now, if you were to meet them in a little cafe, what would you say to younger Rajesh?
I would say, don't take life too seriously. I was so focused at the time. I was so focused on passing exams.
Yeah.
All I did was to study, study, study. And I did not, I think if I turn back the clock and say to myself, okay, take it. Life is not just about studying. It's about enjoying it as well. So balance it, particularly in today's environment, Hannah, when we have so much material available. You got AI, you got accountancy help that helps accounting trainees with
Mm.
support. You have so much guidance from the firms. I think students can actually balance the study with life as well. I think they need to enjoy life as well.
That's a great one, Rajesh. And I think so many
But at the
trainees.
same time, but at the same time, don't give up on your mission, which is to qualify.
Mm,
Uh, but make sure that you do work hard, but at the same time, work smart.
yeah, a lot of trainees, I think, need to hear that because it's a long, I always say it's a marathon, not a sprint, becoming an accountant. It does take a number of years and you can't kind of completely put your life on hold. You should still have personal life and free time, and otherwise it's miserable for between 2 and 5 years, depending on how long it takes.
Yeah, and just be hungry to learn things. Even if it's not accounting related, it's probably say management related,
Mm.
personal relationship. Just be hungry to learn, because tell you what, learning never stops. It hasn't stopped for me yet.
Yeah. What have you learned about managing people throughout your career? Because as I'm going through my career, I just think it's more and more important, those management skills and how to build relationships with people and manage and coach them to develop. What have you learned about that? And sometimes it's not taught. You just learn as you go along. There might be the odd bit of management or leadership training, but you're not really taught how to be a manager.
I think in terms of managing people, there is not one rule that you can adopt. It's you have to adapt to the individual that you are actually managing. Everybody's got different issues in their life or different ways of looking at it. So you have to adapt your behavior, but have empathy. I must admit, I didn't have a lot of empathy to start with. I learned, like you said, it's not taught, you learn. And the benefit of actually having that empathy, but at the same time, make sure that you actually are showing them the ropes, that you're teaching them. You're not just saying, okay, you got to do X, Y, Z by this time and just leave. No, you're saying, okay, well, let's show you how to do these things. Yeah, this is the better way of doing it. I'll let you do it, get on with it, and then you come and see me, and then we'll go through it. Rather than, so they need to see you as a leader, not as a manager.
Oh my gosh, Rajesh, yes. That's exactly it. And I think sometimes people, through not necessarily fault of their own, but because they're so busy, they've got so many responsibilities and accountabilities, sometimes people don't devote the time to
Yes,
training people. And yes, it's going to take longer. Yes, it's going to take time out of your schedule, but in the long run, they're going to be able to actually take a lot more work from you because they've been properly trained.
exactly.
And yeah.
Exactly. So I think, as I said, I wasn't a perfect leader myself, but I learned,
Yeah.
over the years, through experience, and so people really like to work with managers and leaders who show them how to do things and empathize with them, for sure. And you have to accept everybody has got different views on life.
Yes, it's true. It is true. Well, that's a brilliant way to end the podcast. Thank you so much, Rajesh, for taking time out of your retirement schedule, which does sound very busy, to join us. So, me and you know each other because back in my business consultancy days, I was working in people consultancy and we did a gender pay gap project with Costco. And it was so interesting. I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm just so glad that we've kept in touch since then. And I wish you all the best in your life going forwards.
Thank you. And you did a brilliant job at Costco
Thank you,
on
Josh.
the gender pay. I mean, you pointed out things that we didn't know. Anyway, yeah, thank you for inviting me, Hannah. It was a pleasure.